Welcome in, welcome in. We are going to have a important conversation today. Welcome in, welcome in. We're going to have an important conversation today about about truth, identity, and also self-worth. This episode is called When the Mask Slips, and this is about what is going on, the latest updates on the Cheyenne Bryant controversy, aka Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, and also what is going on right now with Claressa Shields. And so let's get right into it. My name is Yasmin Shiraz, and this is the Yasmin Breakdown Live. As of today, Claressa Shields has been banned from all most valuable promotions MVP events until further notice following a physical altercation with Alicia Baumgardner, who is a fellow fighter. So what happened is over the weekend, there was an MVP MMA event at the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles where the two boxers were. They have a long-standing feud. Words were exchanged and Shields slapped Baumgardner. So that's basically what happened. And what's disappointing, why do we want to talk about it? Is because, Claressa Shields is saying, she's the greatest woman of all time, boxer. And as I understand, I'm not an athlete in any way, but I understand that this is a mental game. This is a mental sport. This is a sport that is essentially won in your head. And so when we see Claressa losing her cool and we want to root for her on so many levels, I think she's an underdog that has become the top dog, but she's really gritty coming up out of Flint, Michigan. She has a lot of people rooting for her. And when we see stuff like that, it's a turnoff. And so that's something that I want to talk about today because this is something that I've noticed in corporate America. And no, this isn't a boxing ring, but I believe is applicable. I believe there are a lot of mean girls in corporate America and mean girls that you network with because they grew up and people talked about them. They called them bummy. They called them ugly. They called them, talked about their teeth, talked about their nose, talked about their looks, told them they had big eyes. And then 20 years later, you meet these people, and on the outside, they have this mask that everything is cool, but just beneath the surface, they are sizzling. They are steaming. They are hatred-filled individuals. I'm not saying Claressa is that, but I think what we're seeing out here is some mask falling that is happening in real time. And if boxing is in fact a mental game that we all know that it is, we cannot be slapping people if we're not getting paid for it. I'm thinking from my perspective, that is the game. And that is what we are talking about. So I want to say to Claressa Shields, who I know checks on social media, we want to root for you. We want you to win. But in that, we want you to get some keep that mental strong as possible. And don't be afraid to get therapy if there's anything that's going on that's making you feel like you got to be popping off more than necessary. You know what I'm saying? People want to root for you. All right, y'all. So the next case we want to get into, the next story that we're going to get into today, and the longer story, I just wanted to touch base on Claressa. But the next story we're going to get into is Dr. I'm saying that in quotes, Cheyenne Bryant, and what is in fact going on there. And I wanted to share with you all the latest today. And the longer story, I just wanted to
What
touch.
is
I
the
just wanted to touch.
latest?
There you go. I wanted to make sure. I wanted to share with you all what is the latest that is going on in the Cheyenne Bryant case. So let me go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so basically, just to give you an update, and I did a video on my channel that really spoke to the sociological aspects of why this matters. This is bigger than Cheyenne Bryant. This is about how social media becomes such a powerful engine, and we start believing people because they're attractive, because they sound good, because they enunciate, because they know good words, they're articulate, they're savvy, they're charismatic, and all of the things. But sometimes what they aren't is credentialed. And so we believe in the fame of it all. We believe in the celebrity of it all. And social media has turned us, a lot of us, into people who don't even check to verify who people are. Do you do what you say you do? What have you done if you say you've done something? If you say you've been signed to a major publisher, do you have the books with your name on the bottom? If you say you have a master's degree or a doctorate degree, do you have your thesis anywhere, your dissertation anywhere nearby? This is what we're talking about today, because too many of us have begun to buy into the hype, and we are allowing social media and the algorithm to tell us who to believe. And this is a problem. And so she is allegedly, I should say, she's being accused that she has misrepresented her educational credentials, specifically the legitimacy of her doctorate and also her therapy licensure. So that's the allegation starting right off the bat. Okay, so let's start right off the bat. The legitimacy of her doctorate. Either you went and got a doctorate or you didn't. That's it. If you have done all the classes but you haven't done your dissertation, you are ABD, all but dissertation. It is not really a big thing in my mind, to lie about it, because once you do a dissertation or do a thesis like I have here, I did this one in graduate school for my master's degree. You're so proud of it, like it's on my bookshelf with my other books. So it's kind of strange, sort of her take on that right now. And then her therapy licensure, she simply said, hey, I don't have a license. And she and I'm paraphrasing, so don't quote me, but simply said, I would have my hands tied behind my back if I was licensed or what have you. And I want to talk about that really quickly. In the Black community, we are already distrusting of people in the therapy space. I can't tell you how many friends I have spoken with who, I go to therapy regularly. I'm still going. And they'll say, well, how did you pick your therapist? And, what questions did you ask? And, how did you know the right person? I was married for 23 years, so I also did marital therapy with my husband as well. And the same questions come. And so it is important in our society for us to believe the people who are supposed to be helping us in the therapy field. So when we learn that someone who we thought was legit, who we thought had credentials, who we thought had a license, but didn't, it hurts our trust. And we already don't have an abundance of trust when it comes to therapy in the Black community. So this is a black eye, as far as I'm concerned, with therapy within our community. So that's one thing that I want to say about it. The next thing about it is that, as I was saying about the licensure part, if I go to a therapist and I am talking to them about intimate details, perhaps relating to my marriage, super personal details about raising my kids, I want to feel that there is some rules and regulations that are going to govern my privacy, that they have a ethical standard, and so forth. So when you go to a therapist who is not licensed, you're only relying on what you think you know about them, what you think that their integrity is. If they decide to do something unethical, if they don't have a license, there is no recourse for you. There is no board for you to go to. So when you have someone who is operating in a field where so many people are licensed and they are not, that is problematic. That is potentially problematic. If you're going to just go and talk to them about the carrots that you're going to grow in your backyard, maybe it doesn't matter. But if you're talking about heavy things and things that you don't want to get out, you don't want that person violating your trust, and they don't want to get a license, that's something of concern. So that's something that I wanted to talk about. And then, because I hope that we have some women in the audience and women listeners, I really want to talk about like how there should be a certain amount of respect that is given to the people who've done the work and have the PhDs and have the credentials, have the licenses. And I think that's very important as well. Online, I heard someone say it is Cheyenne Bryant's own people, meaning Black people, who are bringing her down or who are piling on. I take great issue with that, because if we're standing up for the truth, if we are standing up for therapy or mental health or psychology in this space, and we're saying to people who are already distrustful of the system that you have to find people that you can trust, and we have someone who is going from podcast to podcast, talking about their credentials and so forth, and yet now is saying, hey, I don't have to prove anything to anyone. You have to understand this one thing. Part of you building your fan base was based on you telling your, potential clients of your degrees, of your credentials, right? And so if you then built a following based on, oh, I have a doctorate, I have this, I practice this way, this is part of your sales pitch. For you to then turn around and say, well, I'm not going to prove it. I don't have to prove it to anybody. That is in conflict. Don't brag on something that you don't want to prove, because now we're looking at you funny. We're looking at you like you're lying. And so a lot of people want to criticize and say, oh, well, she's Black, we Black, we shouldn't say anything negative because she's also Black. But what about all the people who may have called a therapist and now they've been set back a year from getting help because they sat there and said, oh, here's another fraud? What about those people? That's a real cost that has impacted the community as well. And I feel that we should not at all ignore that. And so this backlash, and the backlash is that she's calling herself a celebrity life coach and author, and she lacks a formal therapy license, but she's saying that she's a psychology expert, and that licenses are primarily for billing insurance. And if you've been on social media, there have been plenty of therapists, psychologists, and so forth sort of saying, well, wait, it's not only that. We have a board. It's here to protect the patients and so forth. And so, again, why is this a big deal? It's a big deal because you as the patient, if you go to a board certified doctor and you have open heart surgery and he says, yeah, I'm not licensed because, I just want you to pay me direct. I don't want you to worry about, me having to go through the insurance or what have you. You just pay me direct. If that doctor, he or she makes a mistake, how are you going to get recourse? Can you go to the board? You cannot. And so that's the hole in that theory and why people should be concerned. And this goes back again. My thesis for that is that be mindful of how social media is really pushing people on us, pushing narratives on us and things like that, because we are not seeing the truth of who people are. And that's why this episode is called When the Mask Slips. So the other thing that is happening with this case right now, or this controversy, I should say, is that the critics and peers are questioning her claimed doctoral degree from the now defunct Argosy University. And as I said in my video, I did a video on this a couple of days ago, is people are saying, oh, if you go up on certain, I think it's ProQuest, they have people's dissertations as a matter of record. Like if you've done a dissertation, it should be up there. And other people who've gone to Argosy have said as recently as last week, they can still go to whatever third party and get proof of their transcripts, proof of their degree, all of that stuff. And she essentially said, oh, they said that I couldn't get mine. So again, why are so many people on the internet who went to Argosy able to say, oh, and here's my proof. This is the email I sent. This is when I graduated from Argosy. This is my transcript. This is proof of my degree. And why is she not able to do that? And so I don't know. I don't want to call nobody a liar. I don't want to call anybody out of their name. But my point, the bigger story for me, is really about if you're considering mental health, life coaching, marital therapy, family counseling, you cannot just look at someone based on their social media following, how many followers they have, how many views that they have on a video. It has to be much deeper than that, because the algorithm is rewarding things that have nothing to do with actual experience and actual credentials. The algorithm is rewarding stuff like pretty privilege. Is the person attractive enough, right? Is the person articulate? Do they sound good? Do they have some sound bites? That's what's getting pushed into your feed, whether you like it or not. And then you click on it, and then all of a sudden you're getting all these videos, and you're assuming that this person is in fact legitimate, and they very well may not be. Now, there was a legal trademark found from 2018 where Cheyenne Bryant did in fact apparently register the trademark Dr. Bryant. So she is legally Dr. Bryant in that she owns the trademark. I could go, perhaps if no one else has done it, I could probably go and register Dr. Yasmin as a trademark. But the point is, I can call myself Dr. Yasmin because I own the trademark, but that does not mean I completed a doctoral program at any accredited university. And that's the difference. And the question becomes, the thing that the thing that we're talking about today is that you have somebody who felt like they had to lie, and we're potentially, allegedly, they're not showing us any proof of the degree. And what I'm saying is that we have to look it up. We have to look it up. And a lot of people are saying that, oh, only the educated people care that she may or may not have a degree or not. And I disagree with that point as well. I've been someone who's gone to therapy. I've been in therapy now for consistently for probably the last 4 years. My husband passed away. I was getting my son through college. He just was valedictorian at his college and graduated on Sunday. I've had a lot of things that were going on in my life, and I really, really needed therapy. So this feels personal for me because I know how hard it is for people to find therapy and therapists that they trust. It's hard for people to believe in therapy a lot of times, particularly if they don't have the family history, particularly in the Black community. And then when you find somebody who is potentially being dishonest, it sets the whole healing back for people, right? It sets the healing back because who wants to be conned? Who wants to be lied to, right? And that's what we're talking about today. The latest news that I've heard on top of that is the publisher action. Blue Magic 85, how are you doing? The publisher action is that there are reports that Cheyenne Bryant's publisher, Hay House, is receiving complaints and potentially issuing refunds for her book, Live Your Promise. And this is due to the ongoing scandal. And so what does that mean, right? You guys know I'm a sociologist. Here is my master's thesis right here. You can see it. It's called Elitism versus Streetism, an examination of bias toward white collar offenders in the criminal justice system. If you IMDb me, you will see several true crime shows that I've written, casted, or whatever over the last, I don't know, almost 10 years. It's probably more like 8, but somewhere like that. I've written a bunch of crime shows. So I'm somewhat of a true crime person. But people should have their credentials. They should have proof readily available if they're trying to sell you on the idea that that's who they are. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't you have proof? Why wouldn't you have, that? Now, what can you do? The thing about the thing about this topic today that I wanted to make sure that we talked about was about authenticity. And I'm not here to throw her under the bus, really, because I like a sister who is trying to do what she got to do. Like, I really don't want to throw her under the bus at all. But authenticity matters more than image. And that's the message that I really want to get out and share with everybody, that, like, because you can get a following on social media, you don't have to lie about credentials that you don't have. You don't have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can say, hey, this is me. I have my this, I have my that. I can show it to y'all. And that's it. But when you lie, now people don't want to mess with you, because now what else have you lied about? Right? And so this is what we're talking about. Like, when the mask slips, why are we out here living such superficial lives? Why are we out here pretending so much? Why is that necessary? Right? Because the thing of it is that the mask often falls off. people end up really seeing who you are. So you might as well just be who you are, right? And I think I've seen a clip with Cheyenne Bryant specifically where she said she had 3 doctoral degrees, right? So that would be 3 dissertations. So if you have 3 doctorates and 0 dissertations, you can understand why people who might hire a person to do a training, to do a speaking engagement and things like that, they're not going to believe you because they're buying into what they believe is authenticity, right? So what's the easiest way then to become more authentic in who you are as an individual? Like, what's the key to that? The key is to not care what other people think and lean into who you are as an individual, period, on God. And not using God when you've been caught in a trap. Not use God when your lies catch up with you. I think the most disappointing thing, when I did my video, I have a video about this, everybody. I have a video about this. And she talks about, hey, she doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. She just answers to God. Listen, as the poet said, young thug, whoop-de-doo, right? Like we all, are accountable to God. But again, the thing that I want people to understand is if I come up here and I tell y'all, I'm a true crime person, so that's why I'm telling y'all about Ashley Janae, and I can say, and here's my thesis on true crime from my master's program, and on IMDb, here's all my, true crime credits, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Accident, suicide, murder. I wrote on that, like all the different shows that. So now you're like, oh, okay, well, I can check her out. But if I'm up here saying this stuff and you can't, find out if it's true, why are you believing me? What, you know what I mean? And what I'm saying is, I could also have just come on and said, hey, this is just my opinion. Like my girl, I am not a lawyer, but love her. She's sitting up there saying, yo, I am not a lawyer, but let me read you these, documents, right? That's authenticity because she's not trying to say, oh, let me give you some legal advice without any experience. Yes. Hey, what's up? Asti 3000. Y'all should check out when she was on. So Asti said, I'm reading the comment. Y'all should check out when she was on Paul Pierce. He interviewed her. He exposed her big time in terms of contradicting her advice. Showed she studied nothing, just talking. And here's the thing, right? I appreciate that comment. Thank you. Here's the thing. There are plenty of people who just talk. Like I'm not a sports journalist, but I will do a video on sports and the guys will be like, oh, you don't know this, you don't know that. You know what? That's why I never say I'm a sports journalist, but I can still have an opinion about sports, right? But the problem comes in when you start saying you are something that you're not. That's the problem, right? That's when things start going left. And the internet is such that if people like you, you don't even have to lie. Just say, like, I've done so many Shador Sanders videos and I don't care. I have an opinion about sports. Never played professional sports, never played high school sports. Never played college sports, but I wish somebody would tell me I couldn't talk about it. But here's the thing. I'm not going to go and say, oh, well, I was a track and field athlete. And, I was Division I, and so then when somebody then starts looking me up, I'm like, oh, she's calling herself a sports journalist and she's saying that she has all of these titles. Oh, I was ranked number 1 in my state and all this. You don't need to do that. And so today we're talking about like truth, identity, and self-worth. And why is it we're willing to lie knowing that what's done in the dark is going to come in the light? Right? Like, why are we so willing as people to just lie knowing that stuff is going to come back? Right? And then to use religion or to use God as your scapegoat. That's the low of the low. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? God didn't make you lie. You know what I mean? So you want to use God as your escape plan, but you don't want to put him in the beginning of your plan, right? So when you get started with your lying, right, you're not involving God in that part. But now that you caught up, you pointing up to the sky, right? Make it make sense, somebody. Make it make sense. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to come on today because I believe self-worth is a part of it. And I don't want to say that, we talked about Claressa early on in the live, and, we're talking about Cheyenne, but I do feel low self-esteem is a part of it, because when you don't feel good about who you are, you feel that you have to fabricate, you know what I'm saying? You got to make up stuff so that you feel like you can walk in the room. Like, I can only belong in the room if someone believes this about me. They're not going to like me without a doctorate. Like, I could have a dual degree, I could have certain experience, but you're not going to like me if I'm, you know what I mean? Like, I got to lie. That's a self-worth issue. That's a self-worth issue, because why do you have to lie? Who are you trying to impress if you're lying? And so this episode was called When the Mask Slips. And we have people out here. And like I said about Claressa Shields, similarly I believe, like, she's a great boxer and great fighter and all of that. But I just feel like I want a little bit more self-love so that she don't have to feel like she got to respond to everybody who's saying something sideways, because you don't have to lower yourself. If you're truly on a certain level that you believe that you're on, you don't have to lower yourself into everybody's conversation. If you want to be honest, you're not even supposed to be able to hear what everybody is saying, because they're not even speaking your language. You feel what I'm saying? Like, some people talking about you shouldn't even be able to hear it, because your brain focuses on something else. I believe that's a self-esteem issue. I believe that's a self-worth issue, because there's certain people, listen, I'm not addressing it. It's beneath me. I'm not addressing it. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And that's where we have to be mentally. And I did this. I know I have some women watching and women, who are among my viewers. It's like, I want us to pull from this and to lean into our authenticity. Be willing to be willing to understand that people will respect you for who you are. You don't have to show up and be somebody else. You don't have to go and pretend and wear the mask. Paul Laurence Dunbar wrote the poem, "We wear the mask that grins and lies, that hides our cheeks and shades our eyes," right? And he's talking about being in a time where we're having to hide, right? Due to racism and things like that. We have to start walking more into our authenticity and accepting that, listen, if this is how I'm coming, you're going to like me because this is who I am. And if you don't like who I am, that's okay. Everybody is not your cup of tea. You feel what I'm saying? But this idea of pretending, and with Cheyenne Bryant, I had read today that some people, colleagues and so forth, let me share, it's called peer backlash. Other professionals and media personalities are withdrawing support, right? Tasha K, which I know is no moral authority, but people are pulling back from joint appearances or criticizing her and claiming that she is losing the support of her peers. And I leaned into this just a little bit, but people who have gone on to get their, PhDs or what have you, their doctorate, these folks have worked their tail feather off. Okay? These people have worked. And so when you have somebody who seemingly appears, allegedly, right, looks like they don't have what they're lying about, what someone else has had to go into student loan debt, blood, sweat, tears, it's an insult. It's an insult. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, like, even in sports, y'all know I love sports, but like when people be criticizing the sports people, and it's like, do you know how hard these folks work? That doesn't mean they're not without flaws. That doesn't mean they're above criticism. But when you have people outright lying, when these folks have given blood, sweat, and tears, it is a big thing. And it's something that needs to be talked about, because folks out here who believe that they have to lie about who they are, we need to have a identity conversation. What is it about yourself that you don't feel is enough, that you got to lie about who you are? What is it? What is it? Like, do you feel like, lying is just going to open so many doors, and then like, and the thing, my problem with lying, generally speaking, is it be having a snowball effect, right? And what I mean by that is it starts with this little tiny pebble of a lie. And then that thing just starts rolling downhill, because if you all saw, Cheyenne's interview where she's talking about, they closed, and then I called the people to get my records, and and then I called the people to get my records, and then they didn't have my records, and then they said I could buy my degree back, and they was gonna give me money. Like by this time the snowball is bigger than my daggone screen, right? And then here come all these people on the internet, like, oh, I went to Arkansas. I got my stuff yesterday. Oh, here's the email. So now, you know what I'm saying? You look like kind of clown behavior. You know what I mean? No disrespect, but how are all these random people on TikTok able to show us the email, the transcript, the degree, and you're sitting up here telling us you can't get it? You can't get it. Why is that happening? Why is that happening today? You feel where I'm coming from? And so it's not to pile on her, but it's to say to people, to say in our community, why do y'all think, I'm going to throw this out to the room, why do y'all think we gotta pretend so much? We have to be fake so much. We got to be inauthentic. We can't be ourselves. Why do y'all think that's the case? You know what I'm saying? Feel free to put it in the chat, because for me, I want people to like me as I am, because I've always been like that as a person. I don't got time to be pretending. I don't got time, because you can't, for me anyway, having to put on the mask, to pretend to be somebody. How long am I going to be able to pretend? How long am I going to be able to pretend before you find out who I truly am? And now, because of this controversy, like, I feel like when I say I'm an author, or like, oh, I've been signed with Simon & Schuster, I be like, yeah, y'all, and here's my name right here. This was my galley copy, but here it is. But you can look it up. Like, I feel now, every time I do a video, I literally go and get my books or whatever if I'm talking about that. Because I don't want y'all to feel like, oh, she just off the top of her head. Okay, so IC3000 says she's making it worse by going on all these platforms trying to defend her lies. Indeed. And it's really what we talked about just now, which is the snowball effect. Each time she does, seems like another lie comes out. Right. And for us skeptics out here, skeptics of how people use Christianity for their own gain and things like that, once you start bringing in God after you've been doing bad deeds, that really looks bad. And so it really makes her look, it really makes her, if she's not lying, then she is in the worst position because she absolutely looks like she's lying. You know what I'm saying? Because anybody else in this industry would have just been just like what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to mislead my people. I don't want y'all to be like, oh, why she say this and she don't have, I don't want to do that, because it's so easy for me to come on live and just be like, oh, I'm going to bring my dissertation, or I'm going to bring my thesis up here. I'm going to bring some books up here. I'm going to bring, you know what I mean? It's so easy. And when someone is defensive, why are they so defensive? And we all know, everybody who's lived on this earth long enough, the people who are most defensive are generally lying about something. Correct? Like, everybody sort of knows that, right? And so she really looks like she's being dishonest. And when you start getting into therapy and things like that, you want people who are authentic and walking in their truth, because if the person who you're getting help from isn't walking in their truth, how are they going to help you to walk in theirs? If the person that you're seeking therapy from has all of these conflicts, as Asti, pointed out with the Paul Pierce piece, right? If you're a walking contradiction, that's going to vibrate off of you. You feel where I'm coming from? That's going to vibrate. Your clients are going to pick up on that, And so my whole thing is like, just say who you are. You don't have your doctorate. Hey, you stopped at a master's degree and still, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even that serious. But again, for so many people, they really think that they're not going to get the same love, the same praise. And I don't know if you guys, I don't have the photo up here readily available, but on top of it, she was a video girl. And, hey, I am not video girl shaming. Let me say that, okay? I am not video girl shaming. But I tell you, the internet never loses. And the internet, I want to say, Asti, did you see that? Did you guys see that? But they have a photo of her in a music video. You know what I'm saying? And you guys might say, well, what difference does it make that she was a girl in a music video? Well, maybe it doesn't make any difference, but it certainly potentially goes to credibility, because I think that there is an association of what kind of girl is a video girl. And so she was, I don't know what kind of, maybe love interest. I don't know. I want to say it was, yeah, exactly. I got to look it up. I should have, yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I have to look and see. Yeah, she was a music. Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was a music girl. I know. I'm trying to pull it up for you guys right now. But yeah, she was in a video back in the day for B2K. It's right here on $1 official on TikTok. She was in a B2K video. Y'all, let me see if I can put it in the chat. I'm going to put this thing in the chat. Let me see if I can share this with y'all. Y'all going to be like, she is crazy. I'm going to put it on the chat because that's what I do. She comes up from behind the luggage, y'all, in the B2K video. And I'm not saying that this makes her a bad person, okay? Listen, everybody got to eat. I'm not mad at anyone, right? But I'm just saying that be honest. I started as a hip hop magazine publisher. I'm going to tell y'all ask me something, I'm going to tell y'all, oh yeah, I work with this person or work with this person. Just say what it is. And too many people, we don't want to say what it is. So anybody, do you have any other comments tonight before we wrap up this live? This was called When the Mask Slips, Truth, Identity, and Self-Worth. One of the biggest things that I want to make sure that we get across is that you got to be yourself. I know you hear it and people always talk about it, and it just sounds like such a cliche or whatever, because it really is. But so many people are afraid to be themselves, and they go and they start to be pretending or whatever. Just be yourself. Like, who cares? Just be yourself, because the people who really feeling you or whatever, they're not going to care. They're going to be happy that you're yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I want that to be the message. I want that to be the takeaway, that don't wear the mask. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't even waste your time on people who you feel like you got to be performative for, right? Like, even your social media, don't go putting a bunch of stuff up on social media that you feel like you're trying to impress people. Be yourself. Let your authenticity shine through. And the people who are not going to feel you because of it, you don't want them in your circle anyway. On God, you don't want them people. So if my realness offends you, good. Get out my stream. You feel what I'm saying? I want people who I can really connect with. And that's the attitude that we have to have. You don't want no fake user people only like you for certain. You don't want that. You know what I'm saying? So let your vibe help you find your tribe, right? But when you're giving off a fake vibe, then you're going to attract the wrong people. You know what I'm saying? And people would have loved Cheyenne Bryant for a whole lot of reasons that have nothing to do with a doctorate that you don't have. You feel me? People would have rolled with her for she seems knowledgeable. She's attractive. She seemed like she had some good advice. She probably has helped some people, right? It's not about it's not about the fakery. It really isn't. It's not about that. And so, all right, y'all. Well, thank you so much. That was certainly one to grow on. And I got my video in today, so I'm so happy. And please, if you like the show, please like, follow for more, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And also, I am on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So if you are a podcast listener, you can listen to the show on Apple and Spotify. All right, y'all. Peace.